Ladies and gentlemen, joining me for the Morning Glory podcast is the one, the only, Johnny Holes. What's
Thank
going
you,
on, Johnny?
sir. It took about 29 hours, but I figured out how to get online, so that was fine.
I'm still trying to learn how to interrupt somebody when they're saying hi to the show.
Don't worry about it. It happens to the best of us.
Oh my god. Okay, so if you guys haven't watched the previous podcast with Johnny and Mello, you don't need to listen to me for the first half of the podcast. But it's very entertaining for listening to Johnny and Mello. It's for the first part of that podcast, I didn't realize my microphone wasn't on. And now for this,
we are getting sponsors to see how much money we can raise to see who can guess what Coop says the first hour of the actual podcast.
That's our first sponsor right here. Is this episode is sponsored by Sleepy Time Tea.
Yeah, dude, mine is like Ambien. I just started taking it again yesterday, and then it's working, which is weird because it's not supposed to work now. It's supposed to work yesterday.
The next thing we need a sponsor is how to like stop somebody from yawning, from being contagious. You know, it's like, are you afraid? Are you getting allergic to yawning when your friend yawns? Well, here's Yawn Stopper.
There's a study they did on that, and it's called the contagion effect.
Yeah.
If you're in the room with more than one person and somebody yawns, or just hypothetically somebody says, "Oh, my head hurts," inevitably someone else will say, "My head hurts too." It's really strange.
Oh, my head hurts. My head hurts.
Exactly.
Sorry, I was listening to Andy Kindler. If you guys know him as a stand-up comedian,
Mm-hmm.
I have one of his albums that I was listening to, and he does that impression, and he was talking about how crank yankers are so bad. Look at that, he's already yawning.
It's fucking contagious, man. I don't know what starts that. It's really weird.
From a boring conversation, I don't know.
No, I think it's like a psychological thing. You're in Canada, for crying out loud. I'm all the way out in the south of the United States, so there's no reason for that. I don't know.
Well, now all Canadians are going to be all stoners, while all Americans are all coffee drinkers still. So in the morning, we get to wake and bake for breakfast, while you guys get nice
as much meth as we possibly can. Yeah.
But instead of sugar, it's cocaine. I don't know.
Nothing says like a nice old thing of meth. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I've only drank and smoked weed my entire life. I've never taken any other drugs besides
me have I.
Besides from depression drugs, which is kind of what we're talking into today. And I wanted to bring Johnny about here to talk about his new podcast that he's got going. Talk about it first, Johnny.
Okay. Oh, it's called Out of Character with Johnny Holes, and it's me not doing the silly voice and actually just talking about, dealing with depression. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and manic depressive disorder over 20 years ago. And then most recently, I was diagnosed with PTSD. And I've been in and out of hospitals for suicide attempts and for medication adjustments. And I've seen well over 20 doctors through the years. So I noticed that a lot of people in our community are kind of dealing with the same issues or similar. And I thought, well, it'd be interesting to just kind of talk about it and let it out in the open and let people know that they're not alone. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to go for anyway.
Yeah, I listened to when I listened to the very first podcast. You catch the people's attention right away with your story, and it's a remarkable story too. How it's just how much you've overcame, the why you wanted to like get help when you wanted to. Right? I have some similar stories that I actually wanted to talk with you about. But like, did you want to talk more about where you can find your podcast as well?
Can you hold on 1 second? My cat literally just pissed on me. I'm not exaggerating. Hang on 1 second.
Yes, I will hold down the fort while you clean up the environmental situation. Ladies and gentlemen, on the Morning Glory podcast, we have breaking news that we'll be showing to the public. Johnny Hole's cat just pissed on him. If you want the full story of how Johnny's cat pissed on him, come to Patreon and join Coop the Comedian. This is going to be a great inside scoop, ladies and gentlemen. What were the takes on the cat? Why did he turn on
She's
Best Friend?
talking to you. I've got the headphones on. I hear that. I have that weird. I smell that smell, and I feel that warm feeling. And I look down, and it's the fucking cat pissing on me.
Oh God, poor Johnny.
Jesus Christ! I'm so. Oh. And I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to say something really important, and I got piss all over me.
Oh my God, Johnny. Oh man, I understand the feeling. I used to have a cat that sometimes pissed on me too, sometimes accidentally.
There's no reason for this. She's been sleeping all day. She's been fine. And suddenly she's just like, fuck you, I'm going to pee on you now.
It's like, how old is she?
She's only like 6.
Oh, okay. So maybe she's just a bitch. I don't know.
She's been in a really bad mood. She's been dealing with fleas and all that.
Oh man, fleas are definitely probably a big thing, probably for cats getting so pissed off. I think another thing was just like they get really pissed off sometimes when there's flea drops on them.
Yeah, that's got to be what it is, man. Because it's like, and the first time she did this to me was about a month ago, and I wasn't wearing any clothes. I was laying on my bed. She jumped right on top of my stomach, and she just made that squatting face, and she just pissed straight down.
Oh my God, I can't, man. Fucking cats are fucking brutal, man. They're fucking dicks.
Yeah, she's a little bitch, man.
Oh my God, it's like, why?
And it's like, I love this cat more than anything on the planet, but Jesus Christ, why are you peeing on me?
It's like there's no need, man. It must be the flea drops. She must be really pissed off at you for that. They're fucking so moody. It's like they have fucking bipolar disorder or something.
Fuck.
Fucking
I'm gonna start giving her the shit that I take for my problems.
So if bipolar, it's bi pussy.
Yeah. I only wish you could that would make life interesting.
Bi pussy. Well, it definitely sounds like pussy that does like.
Can you hear me okay? I got like the microphone a little far away from me.
Oh, we can hear the Windex going on in the background or something, or it's the cat dropper or something.
I'm spraying with Febreze.
Febreze. Oh yes, the nice cover. I've got the heavy duty Febreze spray, except mine's like the actual hold down spray. So I
think she took the fucking. I finally got a flea collar on her yesterday. Oh no, it's still on there. Good. Oh, dude, I'm so.
Nice. She must be really pissed off at you for the flea stuff.
Maybe she's mad because she saw me because my landlady is starting to introduce me to one of the horses. So maybe she saw me hanging out with the horse and she was pissed. I don't fucking know.
Oh my God! What? It's like fucking Dr. Doodle sometimes when they're at night and but nobody's awake. They're just secretly yelling at each other in their sleeps at the window. It's like, hey, fuck you, horse.
God,
I don't know.
this is
Well, I've
just.
been watching too much Bo Jackson, I think.
I know some people would consider that a fetish, but that's fine.
Oh my god, that's terrible. Yeah, it's like fucking. I was watching Clerks too. Remember the most ultimate scene where the donkey.
Yes, I'm looking away, but yet I no wait. I want to look away, but yet I can't, or something. That line, yeah, yeah.
It was fucking sick.
I had a piss. I got a piss story of my own. That oh man, dude. I think I tried to go on one of my podcasts. I tried to describe what it was like, but it was a hard show. I had to. I had a catheterization, and what that is it's basically like an angiogram when they stick a metal tube up through your crotch and into your heart to basically see what's going on with your heart.
What the
This is when I found out that I had to have heart surgery. Yeah. And right after the angiogram, you're not allowed to move. You have to stay in a specific position for like, I don't remember how long it was. It was like 45 minutes to an hour or something.
You're
You,
drugged to the
you
max,
couldn't move.
though, right? We don't feel anything, right?
You don't feel anything. I mean, you do kind of feel this metal thing rolling around your stomach. It feels really weird.
Oh,
It really. I've had it done twice. It feels
and
really weird.
you're awake for this shit.
Yeah, I was awake. I was
Why?
they gave Xanax, but I'm not allowed to take Xanax. I had to go rehab for Xanax, so I couldn't take anything. I wasn't allowed on anything for this to soothe myself. I was completely wide awake for the whole experience. I
Huh.
got to see all the cameras inside me. I got to see everything. In fact, when the doctor's going through me, he's like, "All right, John, it looks like you're going to need a couple of stints." And I was like, "Oh, Jesus, really?"
It's like
So when he gets
it's like a security guard watching all the security cameras at once.
it's like
what the fuck
there's
is
a guy
going
doing
on?
the procedure, and then there's doctors and nurses just in this small, like almost like Stanley Kubrick type of area. You're in this is a massive room. Doctors are walking around all over the place. Monitors are all over you. The entire world can see you completely naked. I mean, it's just doesn't matter at this point because the whole world can see you. And there's this one guy who basically has what looks like the very end of a wire hanger, and he's literally sticking it straight through your crotch, into your stomach, and straight through your chest. And this is how they're able to see inside your heart and in all the veins. So after he said that, and he said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna need a couple of stints," I was like, "Yeah, okay, fine, whatever." I was like, "Life sucks now anyway, whatever." So I go into the room, and I really had to pee like there was no tomorrow. And the guy's like, "You can't move." He's like, "I'm sorry, if you move you could do some damage to your body. I don't know what the problem was, but I wasn't allowed to move." So this beautiful female nurse comes in, and she goes, "Hi, mister. I understand you have to go to the bathroom." I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Look," she's like, "I can hold it for you." And me being a comedian goes, "Look, I know that it's a fetish in some countries, but I'm not sure if that's really going to work for me." And she kind of looked at me like, "No, no." She goes, "I understand." She's like, "I've done this before." I'm like, "Are you sure?" She goes, "Don't worry about it. I'm experienced at it. This is what we're trained for." So I don't know if you've ever had to pee in one of those things. It's basically like a urinal that they put on the side of your bed.
Uh-huh.
It's plastic, it's a plastic urinal that's shaped for gravity to go downward.
Right.
And this woman has this thing holding it over me, positioned upward. So now I'm thinking to myself, if I can actually accomplish this feat of peeing, it's going to be going up and then back down again. So I'm thinking, how the hell is this going to work? But I don't care. All I really want to do is pee. So she's standing there. She goes, "Look," she goes, "I'll tell you what." She goes, "I won't look." I'm like, even you not looking doesn't help. I'm like, it's like you have my tiny wang in your hand right now, and you're not. That doesn't help me. I'm like, it's really the illusion is still there. It's not going anywhere. So, sweetheart of a woman, really one of the nicest ladies in the world. So finally, after maybe like 2 hours or something, I was like, "Look, I'm really sorry." I said, I can't do this to you," and I'm like, I'm sure you don't want to do this to me." So she kind of chuckled and she laughed. So finally, after she left, I said, "Look, is there any way I can just move a couple of inches so I can position myself, so I can just do it for myself, so I can go myself?" She's like, "You're only allowed to like move like a half an inch." I was like, "Fine, not even a half an inch." So the guy gives me the urinal. They go, and of course, I'm trying to position myself in the bathroom, in the room. I'm all alone. I'm not in a bathroom. I'm just basically in a room. And so finally, as I'm trying to do this, people suddenly decide they're going to want to come in and out of the room that I'm in trying to pee.
Oh my god.
So it finally comes out, and then after that moment, the surgeon came back in and said, "By the way, Mr. Pilot, it turns out that you don't need a stint. You actually need emergency triple bypass heart surgery, and you need it tomorrow. We're sending you to St. Francis Hospital immediately, and they're going to do the operation in the morning."
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh my god. After going through all that, you had to go through more.
I had to go through more. Then after the surgery, I ended up in a medicinal coma. I didn't come out of the coma for like 2.5, 3 weeks. I only remember maybe about 20 minutes out of those 3 weeks.
Is this on your podcast as well? You're up to episode 7 with it.
I think there's a couple of like moments I missed, but yeah. Yeah, I did. I think it was like episode 4 or 5 or something. I'm not going in any linear order. I'm like just kind of going as like how I feel. Like I started to record today's podcast, but I got a little bit too weird with that because I go into like when I was abused when I was a kid. I know it's such an uplifting podcast, isn't it? Everybody's gonna want to hear it.
This was lucky enough because I saw your notification on Twitter this morning, and usually like, hey, does anybody want to do a show together or any recording? And I was like, hey, I wish I could. I wish my technology is good enough to do it. So that's why I got a hold of you when I noticed today I couldn't go to Vancouver. So I was like, hey, let's do a podcast with Johnny. So I got a hold of you, and then I fucked up with my equipment again, and here we are talking a podcast again. I guess
awesome.
we went from depression to peeing stories.
Depression to peeing. I don't know why I went into that. Oh, because the cat peed on me. That's why.
Oh yeah, the cat. Oh, that's gonna be a great clip. I'm gonna post that for free if anybody wants to. But actually, I'll talk with Johnny to make sure I'll get him to sign an agreement first before I release it.
I don't care. You can play it if you want, as long as you don't see me, because I just had to take my shirt off.
Nobody can see you right now. It's just this picture that has all these audio waves going through it. Like,
if you can hear the pee, then I want a piece of that action. If you can hear it, that's because this was a lovely flow, just coming straight out of her ass and onto me. It was wonderful. She didn't hit me though, so that's good.
So I wanted to bring you on here because I wanted to talk about my story about I've never told this before to anybody before. So you and the Patreon family are like the first ones to hear this story about me. How I actually got diagnosed with what I have today. If you want to guys hear the story about it, I've been dealing with depression a lot my whole life and that, but I haven't until actually maybe about 3-4 years ago, I was actually fully diagnosed with an actual like disability or a mental disability, and it's called borderline personality disorder. Have you ever heard of that, Johnny?
I have that as well. Yes.
You have that as well, so you understand what I probably have been through, right?
So have you gone with the DBT manual, dialectical behavior therapy, the big red book? Have they given you that yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So that's why I'm here to ask you about my story. So this is how it went down. One time, my stepsister and my sister were all as a family. We're all together, and for some reason, my sisters just start like saying that I'm just like an asshole as a brother for some reason. So for some reason, I got pretty angry in my room, and it's not in. And it's more of a rage thing with me. When I get angry about something, I go into a state where I build up a certain amount of rage. That's not good for a human being, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So that's usually what I do. Why I try to stay as calm and cool now, because at that state, I was really pissed off with my sister, and they actually, for some reason, I hit my elbow on the wall, and they called the cops right away. They didn't even ask why. They just called the cops. They just noticed. So
When
they,
you say you close, do you is that the only place you can put your razors in the bedroom and it slowly comes out, or does it just come out all at once?
uh,
Or you don't know how to funnel it?
basically, I go into a state where you pace back and forth, where it's like you want to like talk to yourself through of what to do if you're angry, kind of thing. You
Mhm.
feel me?
Yeah,
It's like,
so it's anxiety. It also sounds like a little bit.
yeah, it's also anxiety, but it's also a huge amount of rage that I build up, and because I try to not get angry at a certain situation, I try and like put it on myself,
Mhm.
and try and figure out a way of like keeping the bad energy inside and then just releasing it somewhere else, kind of thing.
I understand that completely. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why that's when I'm angry about something, I go for a walk when I don't smoke or anything like that. I put on headphones, and the best thing for me, Pokemon.
There you go.
I swear to fuck everybody, I go for walks and I pull out the Pokemon app, and I just fucking just catch random individuals. It's like that's what it kind of clears my head whenever I don't have weed, kind of thing. But mostly weed. Yeah, so they call the cops, and so the police take me in, and they take me to this place that I'm living at right now in Chilliwack. It's actually right down the road from me. It's a psychiatric ward, and so they brought me in, and they talked with me for the first few days about me just like me being worried about everything. It's like when I got to the psychiatric ward, I was very scared individual. It was weird because like it felt like everybody was angry at me for something. I remember one time I was they asked me to make a phone call to somebody about starting a disability claim. And so they told me to go use a phone in an office, and I used the phone. I was talking to the person, and then another doctor comes in and says, "You're not allowed to use that phone." And so I'm like stuck in the middle. I was like, "Wait, I was told by her to." He's like, "Doesn't matter. You have to hang up now. You're not allowed to use that phone." So I'm like kind of confused in a situation, and I start breaking down and crying, like because there's one person yelling at me, another person's yelling at me on a phone. I'm trying to get the person at the counter to try and like talk to this doctor being a dick, and I'm just breaking down tears. And apparently, so I had to hang up the phone, and then I was freaking out in my bed for like an hour straight. So they were all diagnosing me with stuff after that as well.
Was it more than one doctor reviewing you after you broke down, or is it just you? And
It
did it feel
was
like
it
you
was
against the world?
Yeah, it's still that's been me since I was a kid. So um that there was I think there's been a few doctors that looked at me while I was there. But they came to diagnose me with deep depression, anxiety, and borderline personality disorder.
Hmm.
I didn't know I had the third one. At the time I knew about the other two.
Yeah, borderline personality disorders. It's very weird. It's I think from what I understand of it, it's fairly new, and they used to diagnose it in women mainly. I mean, it is in men, but they used to mainly diagnose it with women for some reason. And they have really weird. I don't know if they give you any workbooks or anything, but that's just bizarre. Some woman came up with this book that she wrote. It's called DBT, Dialectical Behavioral Disorder. It's a workbook that is so just unbelievably bizarre that it's hard to take seriously because it's just so strange. But it's like, but if you do learn some from it, I mean, it does tell you how to share your feelings properly, and it's basically borderline personality disorder is really the key word with that is um, boundaries. That's the key word with borderline personality disorder. It's understanding your boundaries and understanding other people's boundaries and understanding how to negate and negotiate them.
Yeah.
And once you find that key out, then it's not that bad.
It's
But
a big issue with me when it comes to that is interpersonal relationships with people. That's been a huge struggle with me since I've been a kid, and that's probably one of the effects from it. Is I've always struggled with just dealing with like person of person conferences and that. Or well, I also have speaking troubles too. I can't even fucking talk right.
no, that's all right. It's nerves, that could be that too, and
I'm also extremely high and always like slurry. It could be really that too.
I'm probably one of the most nicest, insecure individuals you could ever meet in your entire life. Like if you saw me in a room, I probably wouldn't say anything. But that always works to his disadvantage because people think I want to kill everyone in the room. Because apparently I have this face that gives off that emotes this thing where it's like where I'm not even thinking that at all. I'm actually worried more so of what the other person's thinking about me than what about anything else. So I remember being in a couple of situations once in the past where I've actually had a roommate when I lived in New York City. He went up to me and his boss came over to help us fix something in the house. And when it was the first time his boss was meeting me. So then, when he went to work the next day, the boss approached him and said, "Who is this guy you're renting this room to?" And my friend was like, "What?" He's like, "What, does he want to kill you?" I thought he was going to kill you. I'm like, "Oh, that's lovely. That's how people perceive me." That's fantastic.
I feel the same way. I feel that like people think I'm Russian and untrustworthy or something because I've got like a crooked, ugly nose or something. I get that vibe a lot from people. So,
and your mind isn't even thinking about that. You're just trying to figure out how to sort out the situation and maybe how to meet a chick or say hello to a chick or whatever it is. When you're more afraid of them than they are of you, if that's the expression that makes sense or whatever. That's always happened to me anyway.
Yeah, well, I think I'm not really worried of talking to people. I just noticed that I don't want to go meet a girl if I have like, hey, you look extremely attractive. Do you want to go get a IKEA hot dog for 57 cents? It's like a terrible date.
But that's funny though.
Have you ever been to IKEA?
It's like Disney World for I don't know what. There's a punchline there somewhere. But yes, I have. It's very confusing.
World for wives with hobbies.
You need like a GPS to fucking walk around that place, man.
I love. All I know is just the hot dogs are usually like the best thing. I went there when I was a kid. I used to get them a lot, but now I'm scared about eating it because what is it actually made of? Those hot dogs.
Oh, hot dogs are wonderful. That's how I lost over 200 something pounds.
What? IKEA hot dogs? Is it like tofu?
No, not IKEA hot dogs, but hot dogs have extremely low carbs, next to nothing. We don't know what's in them, but they're next to nothing. On the bad side, though, of course, they're full of cholesterol. So,
in in Vancouver, they actually have at a festival they were promoting hot dog flavored water.
Oh God, that's disgusting.
Apparently, it's very nutritious for you.
Get the fuck out of here. What stoner douchebag came up with that brilliant idea?
Hot dog flavored water. 1 second.
Tastes like farts.
Okay. I'm like Harry on it already. Oh, I guess first of all, there's an album called Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog Flavored Water by Limp Bizkit. So I guess whoever created this hot dog flavored water, you are not the first to think of this idea. So this is the story I have. This hot dog water costs $37.99 for the craziest reason. Holy fuck! Are you kidding me?
Why?
That's it. That's the article. Wait, okay, it's still loading. Oh, there it is. So let's see here. We've learned that hot dog water is now being sold at the annual Car Free Day festival in Vancouver, Canada, and it's $37.99 a bottle. In case you're wondering what's a ghastly sounding and seemingly overpriced product would look like, well, there you go. I guess you can't really see it, but this guy's just exaggerating while telling a story, I guess. Apparently it says it's keto compatible and you lose weight, increase brain function, you can look younger and increase vitality from the hot dog flavored water.
I just don't believe it. I don't believe it.
For $38, would you buy hot dog flavored water?
No. I would rather buy like a quart of bukkake.
See, that's like the stuff I would buy as a souvenir to keep in the background to see how long it goes without going bad.
That is a good question. How fast does it go bad? Yeah.
That is my new collection hobby, ladies and gentlemen. I am going out and collecting the weirdest shit until it goes bad. And then what? What is the point of it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm starting my own collection where I'm just being weird.
Well, they used to in New York. They used to sing. Sell New York Tap, and it was called New York Tap. It was in a fancy plastic bottle, and the guy literally would pour it from his tap from his apartment, and he sold it for like $8, and he was making a fortune. So, and all the tourists.
No, that is the best thing ever.
The guy was a fucking genius. He sold millions of them.
Is that the guy that invented tap water?
It was called New York Tap from his apartment. New York Tap, yeah, that's exactly what he filtered it. Whatever it was you do to put water in a piece of plastic, that's what he did, and he sold it for, like I said, $15.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's brilliant.
Man, it is brilliant. Yeah, it's crazy.
New York water is actually really, really good. Surprisingly enough.
I've been noticing there's a lot of commercials lately that they've been promoting sewer water. It's like they would just like a guy struggles to get water out of a thing, and then out comes sewer water, so he drinks it, and then it shows like kids like drinking their water. So it's like they're making us, yeah. It's like, I guess everybody's solution is we got to get rid of the salt water, right?
I don't know. I mean, like, isn't there certain things that are supposed to, aren't there reasons why we need salt water? But I don't know. I don't understand it anymore. I'm so confused by anything that's healthy in general.
What I remember in science class or geography or whatever the fuck I was taught, history maybe, I don't know, a middle school class. I think it was like 97% of the Earth is salt water. So I think it's like only 3% is actually clear like water that we're allowed to drink. So if they can. If they can find a way of making salt water drinkable for everybody to have and use, then problem solved, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, remember that movie Waterworld? That fantastic Kevin Reynolds was Kevin. What the fuck was his name?
What movie? Okay. I don't. What movie is this? No, probably not.
Kevin Costner in the spectacular Waterworld film. Yeah.
Waterworld.
It was basically the world ran out of drinking water. It was basically Mad Max except on water. It was terrible. Really, really awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest bombs of
It sounds
1996.
like Marineland in person.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest bombs of like 1995 or 96 when it came out.
Oh,
Huge disaster.
I was 5 years old at the time.
Uh,
I don't think
Just epically enjoyable piece of crap.
I will definitely have to do some reviews, Johnny. We'll have to do some reviews of like is there a like mini clips of it online on YouTube?
Oh yeah, definitely. And as a matter of
One
fact,
second.
Universal Studios has a special sports world show,
Water, what is it called?
Waterworld.
Waterworld?
They have a
Waterworld.
live action stunt show. And
Okay.
in the movie, he literally pisses in a special apparatus, and it converts it to drinking water.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to watch the trailer of Waterworld.
I'm trying to find somebody who's into movies. We gotta do like I would love to do a movie podcast. Or,
Let's do it. From Universal Studios.
The future. The polar ice caps have melted.
The future. The polar ice have melted. Terrible impersonation, but I love that guy.
And the earth lies beneath a watery grave.
What? The earth lies between a watery grave. What?
My cousin helped design those floaty things.
Oh, okay. So this is the island?
That's
Oh.
like the world. It's like a barrack on water.
Oh, hopefully you guys can see it, right? Oh shit. There we go.
It's like a damage.
Have adapted to a new world.
What the? Oh my god. Yo, it's like, is that a hammerhead shark? Huh. Interesting.
And all this water?
That's for the wrong person. You ain't married. But what's the word? Trading or not? And the human dream is the search for a mythical place called dry land.
Doesn't exist. How can you be sure?
Because I sail farther than most have dreamed. I've never seen it.
What?
This whole way of living is ending. Ridgeline leading directly. Directly to Dryland.
What?
It's not just our destination, but it is our destiny.
It's not our destination, but it's our destiny. All right, I got my quote of the trailer.
Pictures presents world unlike any I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like oh my god, this is stunts back in the day. Holy jeez.
Dude, the original cut of this film was about, I think, 6.5 hours long.
Oh my god.
Kevin Costner, Dennis Hopper, Gene Triplehorn.
Triple horn. Triple horny. Waterworld. The Legend of Squirterella.
Awesome. If you want to make a bad movie, just call Kevin Costner. If you're in the 90s, just he'll ruin everything for you.
Oh man, that was great. 1 second here. Let's see if I can. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Waterworld trailer, and I will not be watching that.
Now, you know what trailer you need to see? You need to see the Can't Stop the Music trailer. That's what you need to see.
Can't stop the music.
Dude, if you could, we have got to one night watch that movie. It is the greatest. It is so awesome.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
mean,
everything about it.
we'll do a huge like review of it online, live reactions of it.
Dude, there's so much wrong with that movie. It's just so bad. It's great. It's basically based on the Village People movie.
I
When I was in oh man, when I was in a comedy troupe, we like spoofed the movie. I played the Indian. It was great. It was just so awesome.
yeah, this sequel, does it have a sequel? Is it worse or is it better?
No, it's just called Can't Stop the Music, and it's just on its own. Probably one of the honestly worst films ever made.
Oh man, sequels to me, I think, are the worst films out there right now. There's so many bad sequels to movies, like especially the second. But like some like second movie is good. Like Rush Hour 2, I thought was the best of Rush Hour series. I don't know if you saw that or not, but with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan.
You always know it's a bad sequel if they just completely recap the entire first movie.
Well, I mean, like they've done Hangover sequels now. I think the first one was good enough.
The first was great. The second one, they had moments, but it wasn't even worthy of a second one. It was a recap of the first one, basically. It was terrible.
Oh, and then all like the second Disney movies out there are absolutely terrible. Like the ones, like once they go straight to DVD, it's like why? It's like no purpose of making it. First of all, they made what was it like? They make all these things like Cinderella 2, Mulan 2.
Yeah, it's
like there's no point unless it's like a kid grabber, right?
It was a big mistake. What happened was when video first started to gain its popularity, Disney was afraid because they felt they didn't have much of a library to release on video. So what they would do was they would release a movie every 7 years. So you'd say, just hypothetically speaking, they put out Aladdin within a few months' time or whatever, you wouldn't be able to get Aladdin for another 7 years, and so on and so forth. Then they discovered, we can make some money off this sell-through stuff. So why don't we make sequels to all our popular properties like Aladdin 2 and the Fox and the Hound 2? Really just subpar, shitty fucking sequels that nobody's going to like but kids. And we'll make some extra money to compensate for the small amount of library that we own. So this way we can capitalize on the movie because it's already popular with the kids. They already love it. It already made money back. And we'll get even more money back, and we can keep releasing these every 7 years and accidentally make these things classics, even though they're not even worth the ink they were drawn on.
Yeah,
it's just a massive factory.
Now their idea is to buy out other companies and then try and make ideas off of those ideas that they didn't come up with and just come up with crap.
I can't wait for Disney porn, man. That's going to be awesome.
Disney porn. Wait. If whoever finds Walt Disney porn, holy shit, man, they're going to make a fortune.
Dude, did you ever see that documentary? I think it only aired in the BBC about Walt Disney.
Probably wouldn't.
He was. It was horrifying.
It was horrifying for what? Walt Disney?
Walt Disney, the man himself, was a misogynistic, racist, anti-Semitic. He hated everybody. He didn't like black people. He didn't like Jewish people. He didn't like women. He didn't like Indian people. And he was on record for saying it. Now, they interviewed people that had worked with him during the beginning and during the advent of Disney, and the stories that they told, I was like, holy shit. It's like you don't want to believe these stories, but they're true. It sounds true.
It does sound like it because no wonder Seth MacFarlane makes fun of him so much. It's
I can't stand him.
Yeah, because I noticed that they've always done there's always been secret things about him that they've talked about, I don't know, things about him with him being racist and that. I don't know too much about it, but I've definitely heard it from places and that. But that's what they're discovering about all these people back in the day where they used to talk a different language. So what is it like? was it Ben Franklin or was or Albert Einstein? I think was it that was found racist or something like that. I found that on Twitter. Do you know
Yeah,
about that?
I get very confused. I think it might have been Ben, but I'm not 100%. No, I think Ben had the crush on black women, didn't he? I don't know. Like,
He said, everybody freaked out about apparently like a journal that was found or something like that, saying that he was insulting towards black people and that. But that was on Twitter that was released, and so it's like apparently it's just he talked differently, and people read it like he's racist or something like that. So I'll have to find that on Twitter.
yeah, why not? Yeah, I'm sure he's tweeting a lot now.
I'm sure some asshole out there is probably impersonating Ben Franklin and probably doing a good job at it. If there's somebody that's pretending to be God online and he's doing pretty good at it, then my golly, like
Wait, was he the gravity guy? I always forgot. Ben Franklin. Gravity's a bitch, but not with weed. Wait,
I think
who
so.
was who was the dude with the No, I always fuck up my history. The dude with the kite.
Albert
ran the
Einstein.
kite. Was that him?
I can't remember. It's like
I don't know.
I don't know my American stuff enough. But
How
is
dare
this
you?
like is this even American stuff or is this just natural stuff that you should know for knowledge?
I think this is like national stuff, but I know Ben had something to do with the American thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, I should probably. I'm just a stupid idiot.
Nothing to feel bad about. Don't worry about it.
By the way, this we totally got off topic about how me being in the psychiatric ward.
Oh
So
shit!
this-
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We got too much into fun, and now it's time to go back to reality, ladies and gentlemen, because we left off with me being talking about me finally just being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. So then, so here's what it felt like to me there, Johnny. I was there for a month, and it felt like a goddamn vacation almost. Yeah, is that when you know when you have a bad life? Is like you spend your month in the psychiatric ward of given pills on them trying to figure out a proper dose for you, eating really shitty hospital food. That is worse. That is absolutely horrible. And yeah, it's not actually that bad there. It's because all I did was just play Xbox.
Well, I mean, I went to New York City hospitals, so they were as horrifying as they are on in the movies. Do you remember what medications they had put you on?
Some kind of antidepressant, antipsychotic. It's both of those things. It's been a while, but I'm sure they're lurking around somewhere with the bottle. It's been a while, but I'll have to fucking remember it. It's definitely they gave me an antipsychotic, and then an antidepressant, which I absolutely hated antidepressants for some reason. It's just
Well, it destroys your sex drive. That's the throws it out the window.
well. Here's the thing with me, Johnny, is I was coming from a house where my stepsister was racist, where she just like randomly she would play video games and she would say the N word, and she's not even black, so it's like, and she was allowed to do this for some reason. I kept like trying to bring it up that this is wrong, but they didn't care. It's like how do pills fix a situation when you're just in a bad environment around bad people? Does that really help?
It depends on the state of mind that you're in. If you're aware that the people around you are incredibly horrible and they're doing bad things, if you're aware of that, what it can do is help you through the darkness of the idea that you're just you're depressed because these people are making you miserable and they what that sort of thing. But if you're not aware of it, which you obviously were, and someone like your sister's case, it sounds like she would go on something like a an antipsychotic, something like Risperdal or something like that. Because people who usually have that kind of aggressive behavioral personalities, they're more towards something like that. Don't quote me on that, but that's usually the stuff they put you on. But if you have borderline personality, doesn't really seem. It just seems like it's the way you're making it sound is almost sounds like you live somewhere where you just didn't fit in logically, because you thought the way normal people were thinking, and are the other people around you thinking like, wait a second, that's not the way human beings think, and so it's you trying to fit in this weird norm that really isn't a norm.
Yeah, it's like oh boy. Sounds like a snowstorm in the background. But Johnny, I've lived all across Canada having this like difficulty trying to fit in somewhere. I've lived in I was born in Ottawa, Ontario, which is in the middle of Canada. And then after my parents got divorced, I was forced to move all the way to the east coast of Canada for middle school and high school. And that was in Fredericton, New Brunswick. And then after New Brunswick, I felt like I needed to move again and go back to Ottawa. And I went to college there. I didn't fit in with the classmates, so I failed college. And then I moved all the way out West Coast to know my father's side of the family. So I've kind of lived everywhere, and I still feel that like I'm still trying to find where I fit in. It sucks.
I understand. A hell of a lot more than you possibly imagine. You're 28, right? 20,
Yeah.
28.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that feeling. That the fitting in part for me has always been just a nightmare. I just never feel right anywhere that I end up. I've moved since 2011. I've moved a total of 7 times, and I don't want to move again. Like never. Like I mean, and it's just 'cause not feeling like I belong where I am, and this, and that, and I just got to the point where I kind of just want, what? I give up. I'm tired of trying to fit in to make everybody else happy. It's just like if you don't like me, then fine. As long as I know that I'm not doing anything wrong, then great. That's like
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds dark and grim, but I just got so tired of trying to.
That's sort of how I feel with being too interactive with people sometimes. With me being like an everyday like person just talking and getting to know them, and then them feeling like I get bored after a couple of months of them just knowing who I am, and they kind of just like want to keep their distance from me, kind of thing. So it's like it's a weird insecurity thing I might have, but it's like I've been through a lot of people where I kind of feel like the outsider in groups, you know?
Yeah, I totally understand that. That's kind of like why I tell people that I'm a comedian all the time, because they just think, oh, who's this weird guy and trying to be funny and making all these stupid jokes and whatever. Because it's like all right, well, then that gives me the buffer to get away with some of the stuff. I'm not going to say anything to piss people off, but or offend people, but I'll just like be like, well, that's just his personality, but that still doesn't help me either. So I don't know. I can't win. I give up.
Oh, believe me, I know you're feeling is because when I was just starting to get into comedy, I didn't do stand-up comedy. I just basically did what everybody's doing is just doing podcasting and calling myself a comedian doing that way, right? And that really pisses comedians off. It really does, because in their eyes, they're more of entertainers than not comedians. That's what I've learned from a comedian that basically told me off when I started doing social media. Is like, you're not a real a comedian. You're just an entertainer. Is what you are. But I proved him wrong, and and now I do stand up in that, and I'm an actual comedian. So it's like I got bashed a lot for it, but in the long run, I succeeded with my goal.
I mean, but you kind of look at it like from his perspective. I understand it is an art. I totally get that. But if you're creating your own material, creating your own voice, making your own jokes, then what do you call yourself then? Uh, the entertainer thing can only go so far. You know, when I think entertainer, I think, oh, look, there's a guy who can change his clothes in 3 seconds without blinking or something like, you know, I don't know if that makes any sense, but
I th-
whatever.
I think they're scared of what the new era of comedy is coming into. Now it's not just going on a stage and trying to make people laugh. Now it's on a screen. Now it's
Mm.
through broadcast. Now it's a different feeling. And I feel that they are not being accustomed to it. I think they prefer the older style of comedy.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, because there is a lot of thievery, way so more now than there was ever. I mean, there was in the 80s and 90s, but now I see it more relevant now than it was when I was growing up. Like, you know, I mean, like, you know, you'd have to hear through another guy that guy stole that guy's joke. But now you could find out within seconds, you know.
Yeah.
So, and it's thievery, and it's almost like becoming accepted. That's what scares me so much when I do the Billy Crystal meth voice. Like, I don't want to sound like Billy Crystal. I don't want to sound like Gilbert Gottfried. And it's like I want to create a guy who I think is funny. But if I'm going to just be riffing off another guy's spit, that's not. That's just me being a thief. That's not me being a comic.
It
So it's
really is.
you know.
It's hard being an original. Like some of the jokes I'm even telling right now that are on my set, I'm pretty sure somebody's already told somewhere out there in the world. So it's like it's so hard for people to have an original mind. So that's why you got to really think and try and be creative and original as possible, so you don't have somebody bitching at you for like royalty stuff.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's the same that happened to me with the time I was at a comedy club. I wasn't performing. I was just at a club, and it was Dennis Leary. This other guy was there. I don't know this guy. He was opening for everybody. He was the opening comic. I didn't know he was a comic. He was standing right behind me, and I was just talking to my friends, and I had written some of my own material that I hadn't tried on them yet. And this guy literally stole everything. He stole all my jokes, everything. And I
What the
knew that
fuck?
one
Did he
of the
just like stay
lines,
behind you and just fucking like somehow?
he just sat there. It was like he had a pen and a piece of paper. Because when he went on stage, my friends all just kind of looked at me, and I looked at my friends, and I'm like, these are your jokes. One of the jokes, I didn't know this, but I inadvertently took from Jerry Seinfeld. It was about the professor making a radio at a coconut shells, and they can't get a boat to go home with the Gilligan's Island bit.
Oh,
That I just completely inadvertently stole that joke. I swear to God. But I didn't know I didn't know that it was Jerry's. But everything else was my own material that I had just written, and he took everything. I don't know. I don't know if he was writing them down. I don't know what. And when the show was over, because there was like 15 of us at this table. It was Chuckles Comedy Club in Jericho Turnpike in New York. My friend was like, he's like, "Do you want to go say something?" I was like, "No. What am I going to say?" I was flattered that the bit worked, but like the jokes worked. Apparently, they killed. But yeah, a guy stole my jokes, and I was like, "Wow, that was my first taste of learn. You know how fast your rug can be pulled from right under you." So
I
yeah,
that's why, man. That's fucking. First of all, fuck that piece of shit if he actually stole your jokes.
and I
It's
wish
like,
I remember his name too. I wish I did. So long ago. But
did,
yeah, and
wait, was the venue that you were at? Does it have security camera footage?
no, probably, dude. This was the 90s.
If we go
The
back and
90s.
get the footage, we can find the mystery culprit behind Johnny Hole's set.
This was when Dennis Leary was first starting to make his way through with that asshole bit, which turned out wasn't his bit. It was actually Louis C.K.'s.
Really?
Yeah. And it turns out, like, do you know who Bill Hicks is? He passed away. Brilliant comic. Basically, like, Bill Hicks' very last bit, he did at, I think, the Comedy Factory, where the place that Mitzi Shore used to own. Pauly Shore's mother.
The Comedy Store?
Yeah. The Comedy Store, that's right. He did that bit and then he died the next day, and then basically verbatim, Dennis Leary basically stole his entire new bit and he just performed it. Joe Rogan talks about it on his podcast. It's like, it's heart-wrenching, you know? It's just like, holy shit. 45 minutes is hard to come by, as we all know. And this guy just stole his entire bit and made it his own. And there was a moment where I think one of the comics wanted to shut the microphone off, and they were just going to be like, what the fuck? Where does this guy get off? But he got away with it.
Wow. It's that is unfortunate how just some people are getting away with just stealing material and then just keep using it on a daily basis, kind of thing. But you mentioned 45 minutes of just them doing extremely hard minutes of material. I think we've gone over 45 minutes of extremely hard talk with this podcast.
Oh, sorry, we're talking about depressing things. That's right.
I don't know, because I basically I wanted to just finish off my story here of my diagnosis. How they
so he was bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Deep depression.
Yeah, so basically deep depression, anxiety, borderline personality disorder is what they diagnosed me with. They kept me in the hospital for a month. They wanted to see me doing a full recovery, and then just one day I noticed hey, I want to go out and start living again. So it's like at the end of the month they cleared me. I went back to my normal life, and I went back to trying to figure out how to get into stand-up comedy. So.
Did any of the medications they put you on, do they help at all, or did it just make you feel lousy?
No, they just felt me. It made me feel lousy, uncomfortable, and it just they didn't help with the environment I was in. It's like when I was on them, I would still feel tense. I would still feel angry. The pills weren't helping. But when I found a dispensary in Vancouver, that's where I've just been chill for the last 2 years doing stand-up comedy, and that's been probably very healthy for me. So I don't know. It's probably smoking's not the healthiest for me, but the effects of maybe the THC just calming me as an individual helps me just with situations. So does that make me? Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry.
No, sorry, I was cutting you off. Sorry.
No, well, I'm sorry. That would be a great character, and we never get to the final thing. We just keep apologizing.
Welcome to Canada.
I gotta tell you, I'm surprised at how well the medication I'm using for PTSD is working, because I didn't think because there's only 2 on the market out here in America that they use for PTSD, and it's that the FDA have approved, and that's Prozac and Abilify. And I got to tell you, it's been a miracle drug for me, because without it, I would just keep repeating that fucking moment over and over again in my head, verbatim, every 20 minutes, on replay. Because after I got shot, I deal with it every day. So that moment just keeps repeating. So I have to say, I'm quite surprised how well the medication's been working for me in that regard. The sex drive thing, I look at it this way. It's hey, do I really need one? No, it's not like I'm getting late, so whatever. I won't have to wash a towel for a couple of days, But yeah, so I mean, that's so, and in that sort of vein, yeah, that kind of sucks. But and it does help with the depression, and I do get out of bed a little bit more and stuff. But I'm not trying to advocate anything. Just everybody's different, so I guess.
Well, it's a good talk here, because I'm actually thinking of, while I'm talking about this, if I should go back on the medication and go back and find a doctor, because right now I don't have a family doctor since I moved again. So and my family doctor actually just retired after 9 years. So it's I'm kind of in the lost bucket of where I should go right now with a doctor, and who. It's good to find. It's hard to find a good doctor, right?
Oh my God, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. What, do you have any doctor stories?
Oh my God, how much time do we have?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
when I moved out of Greenville and I moved back to the island that I live on now, I needed to see a psychiatrist no matter what. I mean, it was just a given. I was really struggling because I was diagnosed with bipolar, major depression, and anxiety disorder over 20 years ago. But the PTSD thing was really starting to run its course on my head. It was driving me crazy. I just could not let go of the smell of the gunshot wound. It just kept repeating over and over again, or the image of those three people standing in front of my door, and me answering it, and then me getting angry at myself for answering the door.
Wow.
So I couldn't take it anymore. So what happened was I found a doctor out where I live now, and he was the worst, most disgusting human being I've ever met my entire life. This man was a piece of shit. I mean, first of all, I was on a cocktail that was kind of working. I just needed a bit of an adjustment. He decided to take me off of everything. He then started to question my diagnosis. He was like, "Oh, how do I know you have bipolar disorder? How do I know you have anxiety disorder?"
Oh, what a fucking prick.
You know, he did that, and our sessions would end up with me debating him. And he goes, "Oh, and by the way, just so you know, I'm not going to be here permanently. I'm only here temporarily." He goes, "But as far as I'm concerned, I don't want you on anything." And I needed the anxiety. I needed to be on Klonopin for the anxiety thing. But he was treating me as if I was some kind of a drug addict. He would make me urinate in front of a woman probably 3 feet away from me in a bathroom. There was like no space between the two of us. I would have to like literally just go to the bathroom right in front of her. He did this to me 4 times.
Wow.
Then he charged me then my insurance wouldn't pay for the drug tests. And then he charged extra for an additional 15 minutes for a session. I saw him once. I only saw him twice. The second time I went, I literally left the building shaking. I was so fucking upset. I was shaking.
Wow.
So I basically didn't go back for about a year. And then a few months ago, back in May, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I knew a regular physician out here who I seem to get along really well with. So I just went to go talk to her, and she was like a godsend. You know, she really listened. She was really awesome. She helped me get back on the stuff. Now the problem is, like, if I want to go back, I'm gonna get stuck seeing this other psychiatrist again that I don't want to talk to anymore. So I'm just gonna and because of insurance problems and all that other nightmare that goes ahead, and they won't give me another doctor either. He refused to allow me see somebody else. So I'm hoping to hold on to this one woman that's been really like kind of like a godsend to me. She's been helping me through, you know, especially the PTSD, man. Oh God, PTSD is the worst. I never realized how serious it was until I was diagnosed with it. What a fucking nightmare. Jesus.
I remember one day when I was in Ottawa and I was seeing a psychiatrist about my mother's issues I had with her. I wasn't seeing her. I kind of like with the big thing with me is I was working as a Costco employee and I was like 21 years old, and just one day I was just having a beer in my basement or in my room. I guess in my mother's house I was having a beer. And one day she just got angry at me for just having an empty beer can on my desk. So it's like she actually was using her anger on me to just put her frustrations out, how she just didn't want an empty can in that house. So I kind of just like took off from her, and that was the last day I've ever seen her. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's like I kind of like just she went to bed. I just packed up some things, put it in my car, and then I just left with the car and I never returned back. So I was gone for a couple weeks, living in my car, and then all of a sudden, I made the mental mistake of my DUI issue. Anybody wants to listen back, you guys can go listen to that back in the podcast. Then they impounded the car from that, and I've just never looked back since. And I found my own place after that incident, and then I just moved away and never saw her again.
Is this your blood mother or a
Yeah,
stepmother?
this is my blood mother.
Blood mother.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. That sucks. What do you have a relationship with your dad?
Yep. Yeah, no, he's great. That's why I'm out here. It's like with me growing up, I've always had that divorced family. I'll talk about that on another episode. If anybody have you had divorced families, or it's like, do you?
It's kind of weird. No, what happened was basically my mom passed away back in 2006. So my dad got remarried really, really quickly. And I have no problems admitting I was a mama's boy. I love my mom more than anything. But for some reason, I guess the stepmother and I didn't get along. So now it's just me. My father and I always had problems, even ever since I was a kid. And so, yeah, never any luck in that department.
Well, we'll have to talk to you more about divorced families. We'll talk about that in another episode. This one is basically just talking about depression, the diagnosis, and that. So that's basically how I found out a lot about my disabilities, and now where I am today when it comes to. I have an addiction when it comes to drinking. I do have anxiety, depression, and borderline personality disorder. So I do struggle with some of the stuff, and to be honest, podcasting helps, and talking to people about it helps. I've noticed that, Johnny.
Oh yeah, same here, man. I love talking on this podcast thing. I learned just fell into it totally by mistake, and it was like it'll be a year next month, actually, a year in September.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, just totally fell in love with it, and it's really helping me through a lot. It really has. So yeah, kudos to that, definitely.
I've been podcasting since 2008, ever since my college days.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's way back in the day. There was a website called Blog Talk Radio. Ever heard of it?
No, not familiar with that.
It's like basically everybody having Skype conversations through audio. It's like it's very pixelated.
That's cool.
It's very pixelated when it comes to sound quality, but it's still good.
Okay.
That's what that's what podcasting was like 10 years ago. It was still trying to break through the free market where people can just like live broadcast in that days. So in order to get better quality, you had to upgrade your system for higher technology, right? So
Did you know the guy who invented podcasting was from MTV?
really?
Isn't that weird? Yeah, his name was Adam Curry. He was a VJ, and he
Oh.
created podcasting. Isn't that
I did
wild?
not know that. I
I
did
know
not know
that.
this.
Yeah, my friend tried to get in many years ago, and then I just fell into it by mistake. It's great. It's a great way. Even if nobody's listening, it's like, fuck it, I'm talking, I'm letting it out. It's like,
Well, I'm tired of seeing all the local people around me, so it's nice to get out and see like more people on like a screen. Like,
Yeah, come out to North Carolina. You'll be extremely lonely here.
North Carolina. That's home to the Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
I'll have to. My goal someday, Johnny, is to perform comedy at each NFL stadium. Well, not inside the NFL stadium. That's too much. It's like what halftime me doing stand up in front of each seats.
Wait, which stadium?
Oh, the Carolina Panther Stadium, wherever they're playing.
Oh, so that's not too from where I used to live. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was
so it's
born and
like-
raised in New York City, and I ended up here in my 30s. Blah blah blah. But yeah.
It's he's now riding his horses and his carriage proudly out there in North Carolina.
Proudly riding a horse. Believe me, man. I in a million years I'd never pictured
I'm
myself.
going back to our very first podcast I met you, Johnny. That was on Derailed Podcast. That was where we're talking about road rage.
Oh God, what stupidity did I put out of my mouth this time?
That was the one where you're like, well, I don't ride I don't ride a car. I ride a horse.
Yes.
I think you were what are those old folks? Those people that are not connected in society today.
Amish.
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 I'm not sure what the word is, but did you
I'm
know
afraid to get on the horses, to be honest with you. I just think it's a great joke.
that? Did you notice that they actually found an Amazon tribe in Brazil that was found with a drone?
No way, really?
Yeah, it was on Twitter. I found that's where I find most of my news these days. Is there was a drone that found this Amazon tribe that was lost in Brazil that has never seen mankind before. So it's like,
Wow. I wonder if they had a Prime membership.
ah,
Stop. Oh,
nice.
was
But
bad.
where's the Seinfeld thing? Speaking of which, I can't believe that Tommy NC is mad at me for remastering his stand-up set
Did he get mad at you?
again.
Oh, dude, that was a given. Don't worry about it.
I'm having so much fun with it.
I'm telling you, the kid's the king of comedy. He just doesn't realize it yet.
Anyways, but yeah, we've gotten all the things that we need to say from like our doctor conversations and that. I mean, the only like the psychiatrists that I've seen haven't really helped except for one, where one day after me just talking about all my problems going on around me and me just being so helpful as a human being, the psychiatrist just said, "Why don't you start being more selfish?" I was like, good point. I walked out, never saw her again. I started just like being by myself for a while.
You do learn some really weird and intense shit from that. I will say that. Yeah. I've learned some crazy stuff. I mean, that's the other thing you need to also be aware of is like when you start to see psychiatrists and therapists, the first one might not be the fit. So you got to just have to keep trying them out. You know, that's basically kind of how it works. It's kind of annoying, but if you find the right one, then I highly recommend it because Lord knows, some of us need to find someone, to help our insanity get stable somewhere along the way. I guess anyway, if that makes any sense. I don't know.
My next thing I'm trying to tackle is my anger management. That's the next thing I'm trying to tackle. And
Dude, I just learned how to become angry recently. It's all new to me. You think seriously, I know it sounds very weird because my character Johnny Holes is so obnoxious or whatever, but I'm probably the biggest wuss you could possibly imagine. So yeah,
to deal with my anger right now, I'm having lots of tea. So.
Tea? Be careful with
Yeah.
that though, man, because tea's got
Really?
well, caffeine could really add to the anger. Like,
I do like I mostly get like chamomile, like the nighttime tea.
Oh yeah, like asshole gray or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I try and like not to get anything caffeinated, so I like don't feel wired. I try and like be calm as possible so I can fall asleep.
My ex-girlfriend is like an expert on tea. I'll ask her the next time I talk to her. I'll see if I can get you a list of teas because she knows all that stuff, which puts you in a nice little coma, that kind of stuff.
Awesome. I look forward to it because I'm pretty sure on the next episode we'll have you back on here. We'll have a lot more fun stuff to talk about. And we went from Johnny's cat peeing on him to peen stories. I mean, the only one thing I could add is I used to pee in like milk jugs and that whenever I was in an emergency kind of thing. That's the only embarrassing story I have of that.
Well, that's not embarrassing, man. That's awesome.
Is that normal?
That's awesome. I used to want to pee on your cat.
It's like whenever you gotta go, it's just I just sometimes you had an emergency. You gotta have an empty plastic bottle by your chest. Make sure it's a liter. Make sure it's a liter. So.
Oh yeah, I totally follow you on that one, man. I'm just glad the camera wasn't on because you see the cat just didn't give a shit. She was just like, "Fuck you, I'm taking a piss."
Oh man, we'll have to definitely show that off to anybody. And this has been very awesome for you coming on here, Johnny. Is there anything else that you wanted to quickly mention that you want?
Oh no, man. That's it for now. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we'll have you back on here soon, right?
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, man. I just come on anytime you want. I know that you like podcasts and that. Just jump on whenever we want.
Okay, sounds cool, man. Sounds
All
like
right,
a plan.
guys, on Patreon and all the people listening, this has been the Morning Glory podcast with Johnny Holes. Thank you very much, and you have yourselves a great day.